Hello, and welcome to the Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail Pictomancer guide. In this video, I'll be covering the actions, opener, burst, rotation, and utility of the Pictomancer job at level 100. Pictomancer alongside Summoner, Red Mage, and Black Mage is one of the 4 magical ranged damage dealers, also referred to as a caster. They take up one of the ranged spots in a party alongside the physical ranged roles. Pictomancer's playstyle revolves around painting motifs to create powerful and unique abilities in the rotation. The Pictomancer gauge consists of 2 elements. The first is your motif gauge. Here it is indicated which motif you currently have painted and thus which spells you have access to. Each painting corresponds to a specific motif: the creature motif, the weapon motif, and the landscape motif. The second part of the gauge is your palette. This shows you how much white and black paint you have. This paint can be spent on special abilities like your Holy in White and Comet in Black. The line gauge fills up by using your Water in Blue in increments of 25 and can be spent on a subtractive palette. This subtractive palette costs 50 gauge and changes the behavior of your basic combo and converts stored white paint into black paint. Your basic combo consists of Fire in Red, Arrow in Green, and Water in Blue. These generate palette gauge and white paint. White paint can be spent on Holy in White, an instant cast spell that's great for dealing with movement. White paint can be converted to black paint, which grants access to Comet in Black by using subtractive palette. Comet in Black acts similar to Holy in White, but has a longer recast time and does slightly more immediate damage. Typically you want to cast Comet in Black over Holy in White. However, Holy in White does have its uses. Using a white paint over a black paint is a good idea when you need more weave spaces or if you need immediate mobility. If neither of these are needed, then you should opt to convert all white paint into black paint by continuing to generate gauge from your combo, even if this overcaps white paint. Like mentioned earlier, you can spend 50 gauge of the subtractive palette, which turns your existing white paint into black paint. It also upgrades your basic combo into Blizzard in Cyan, Stone in Yellow, and Thunder in Magenta. These combo actions and the Comet in Black have a longer recast time than the normal combo. This can be mitigated by using an ability we will cover later. Motifs are the core of the Pictomancer's gameplay. You can cast a long spell to paint one of these motifs to then use on powerful abilities. Each type of motif has their own action: the creature motif, the landscape motif, and the weapon motif. These motifs can be used on actions called muses once prepared. Let's talk about how these work. The creature motif cycles through 4 different creatures, looping back to the start after the 4th. The first one is the paw motif, the second is the wing motif, the third is the claw motif, and the last is the maw motif. Every second muse also grants you access to a special extra OGCD. The Wing Muse allows you to use Mog of the Ages, and the Maw Muse lets you use Retribution of the Madine. All of these creature muses are OGCDs that deal the same damage. The weapon motif is slightly easier to understand. This motif always grants the same action, the Striking Muse, which is a 60-second cooldown with 2 charges. It's a burst that allows you to use the Hammer combo. These 3 instant cast spells are guaranteed critical hits. The last motif is the landscape motif. There also is only one muse you can get from this action, the Starry Muse. This is your rate buff on a 2-minute cooldown. It does also grant the player a few extra things. It grants you access to Star Prism, a spell which alongside its high potency also heals nearby party members. A usage of subtractive palette that does not cost any gauge. It also places an area underneath the caster in which only you can cast 5 spells 25% faster. Once you've spent these 5 charges, you lastly gain access to Rainbow Drip, which deals high damage and grants you a white paint. Rainbow Drip is usable without this proc from your Starry Muse, however, without this proc it has an incredibly long cast time. You typically only ever cast this outside of your buff, in the opener, and you can combo it with Swift Cast as the last GCD before downtime or before a boss dies. Prior to the opener, ensure you have all the motifs painted. Then, 4.5 seconds before pulling, start casting Rainbow Drip. Instantly use Palm Muse and Striking Muse afterwards. Use the Wing motif and weave in Starry Muse. Use Hammer Stamp, weaving in Subtractive Palette. Use Blizzard in Cyan, Stone in Yellow, and Thunder in Magenta. Use a Command in Black, weaving in Winged Muse and Mog of the Ages. Use a Star Prism and finish your hammer combo with Hammer Brush and Polishing Hammer. Finally cast Rainbow Drip and the Claw motif. It might seem like a complex opener, but with a little practice I'm sure you'll find it very approachable. I recommend practicing on a combat dummy to internalize it. After the opener is done, the rotation of Pictomancer becomes very flexible. However, the main concern is to hold resources for your 2-minute burst without overcapping on anything. This will increase your DPS as your high potency actions will hit even harder under the effects of your raid buff Starry Muse. Try to align the painting of motifs for moments of low movement intensity, or even combo it with a swift cast in a pinch. Alongside this, it's key to have your weapon and landscape motifs ready for the 2-minute burst. Naturally, since the even uses of your creature motifs have extra high damage OGCDs, you want to align those with your 2-minute burst as well. Pictomancer also brings some great utility. Unlike Summoner and Red Mage, it does not bring a battle race. It does, however, bring the following. Tempora Coat is your defensive ability. It grants yourself a barrier equal to 20% of your maximum HP. It can be comboed with Tempora Crasa, which consumes the barrier and instead creates a barrier equal to 10% of your maximum HP, but to all nearby allies. Smudge is your movement ability. It's a 15 yalm dash, which also grants you movement speed for 5 seconds after using it. Alongside these 3 spells, you also have your standard caster roll actions. Addle reduces the physical damage dealt by 5% and the magical damage dealt by 10%. Since all casters have access to this ability, it's important to note to not use this at the same time as other casters, as the ability does not stack. They instead override each other. Sleep puts a target and nearby enemies to sleep. This sleep is broken upon taking damage. Outside of niche content like deep dungeons, this spell doesn't really see much usage. Lucid Dreaming restores mana over the course of 21 seconds. Use this to keep your mana topped up throughout the fight. Swiftcast allows you to instantly cast any spell. You can combo this with motifs or Rainbow Drip to gain a lot of movement in key moments. Surecast is your knockback immunity. It also prevents your cast from getting interrupted by damage that would otherwise do so. A special thanks to all of the theory crafters that helped out making this video. Their names are listed on screen now.